Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel All About BI. In this session I am going to tell you how do we use a lookup activity inside a loop. So what is the need basically for it is, I have two text files in my data lake storage. One is test2.txt, test.doublecode.txt. Both of them are in same structure. Okay, so it has some state and city information. So what I have to do is, I have to just take out the first value. In SQL we will do like select top one column from the set of records. Top one means it will just bring the topmost one value of a particular column, right, or columns. So same way what I'm trying to do is, I'm going to loop through all these files, basically test .txt files. CSV is a dummy file that I don't want to load. So in these two files I just have to take out the top one row and one column, and based on the value that I have in that particular row column, right, I have to decide on my flow. If my state is Kerala, then I have to do some or maybe I have to execute a pipeline. If my state is Karnataka, then I have to execute a different pipeline. Similarly, if my state is Tamil Nadu, I am going to do some other thing. So I don't have to traverse through the whole file to understand what is the state, because all the rows are going to bring me the same state. Means I can just take one first row and that particular state column only, okay, irrespective of other columns and records. So how do we do that? That is what I'm covering here. So the first activity would be a get metadata activity. Since I have a CSV file as well in my data lake storage and I don't want to load that, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make the get metadata activity. What it does is, it is going to the demo container and it is getting the file extension that it needs to pick up. Okay, so basically what happens is, we are asking the get metadata activity to go through the demo container and get all the files which are having extension .txt. Okay, this is what we are going to do. Alright, so for that what I have done is, in my get metadata activity I am pointing to this data set and I have a parameter called file underscore extension. Okay, and from the pipeline in the get metadata activity I am passing star.txt and getting the child items. So basically what it does is, it excludes all other file extensions but just considers .txt and brings me the files with those extension. Okay, if you look at the result you will understand. So test2.txt and test.doublecode.txt. Okay, alright, so get metadata activities work is done. We have to loop through the files and we have to take the first record and first column of state and we have to process it. Okay, so in my case what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just pick out one column or one row from my file and I'm going to insert into a table. Okay, your scenario may be different. So what I am doing here is, I'm not using any set variable activity here. Since I don't use any set variable inside a for each loop, I can make it I can make it parallel. Okay, if you are using a set variable activity inside a for each loop, you should make use of the sequential property. Otherwise the behavior of for each loop will be different. Okay, since I don't want to capture my first row first column in a variable, I can make my for each loop run parallel. So inside the for each loop what I am doing is, I am just looping through the get metadata activities child items, and inside that I am having a lookup activity. This lookup activity, if you open the data set, it will receive a file name parameter, because lookup activity needs to know where your file resides or what is your file name, right? So I am using a parameter there, and then in the pipeline I am passing the parameter value as item.name, because my for each loop brings me the name of the file every time it loops through. Okay, so and one more thing is, I am selecting first row only. This checkbox is checked because I just want one row. We just want to select top one row from the file, right? That is why I am doing it. And after I have gotten the value from lookup activity, what I am doing is, I am going to insert it into a SQL table. So in my SQL table, if you look at the structure, right, it is a simple table. For demo purpose I created. So if you look at the structure, right, it is very simple table with the two columns. The table is state info, state lk is lookup. For lookup I used this. I just want to capture what is the state in first row first column and I want to insert it. I don't want to assign it to any variable or something. In your case, if you are going to use an if condition instead of a copy activity also, you can use the same way. So from the copy activity, what I am doing is I am just pointing to a dummy file. I don't want to load anything to my table except the state value. Okay, so I am just pointing my source to a dummy file. This dummy file doesn't have any data, but just a simple column. One column only it is having and one empty row. This is a dummy file which I want to point from my source, because source needs to point to some file, right? And in the additional column, what I am doing is I am just deriving the state lookup. So the same way how I am using this expression here, you can use it in any activity, be it a set variable activity if you want to use, or if you want to use it in an if condition, anywhere this particular expression holds good. What it does is lookup dot output dot first row dot state. Okay, in my file I have a state column, that is why I am using state. If your column name is different, you have to use it in a different way. Why I want to just stress here is this expression can be used anywhere, but if you use it in set variable activity, make sure to make your for each loop run in sequential manner. Okay, that is the only catch we have here. So my sink is nothing but I have a SQL table wherein I am going to insert the state that I am taking from the lookup activity. Okay, so I will show you the execution details. The lookup has run 2 times, copy data activity has run 2 times, everything in parallel. So first time my lookup ran, it is bringing the state Kerala and the city Cochin. Okay, it just brings one row from my file, and then next time it runs, it brings Tamil Nadu and city Chennai. We don't want to worry about city, we just want state. That's why I have only used dot state in the expression in copy activity source. In the copy activity, if I'll run again, I have truncated the table, otherwise I can show you. So let it run. I'll show you how it inserts. It is just going to insert 2 values, one is Tamil Nadu, one is Kerala. Okay, so mainly I created this video to clarify about when do we go for sequential and when do we go for parallel. Also, how do we access the lookup activities output from a first row of the file. Okay, if it is going to be, if our source is going to be a table, we can use a script activity and we can say select top one column from table name. But since it is a file, we need to use this method. Okay, so it is running. Alright, so pipeline has executed successfully, inserting 2 records into my table. So this is what I had for today. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comment section. And most of you would be in need of pointing to a dummy source most of the times. Okay, so in case you want to use a dummy source, just follow the same way how I did. Have one column, one dummy row, and then in mapping you can import the mapping as such, and then delete the unwanted column from the dummy file. That is what I did. If I clear and import it, you will understand. My dummy file has one column which I don't want to load, so what I'll do is I'll just clear. It has to come. So while importing, you will also see this column 1 which is there in my dummy file. If you don't need this, you can simply delete this. Okay, we just have to point to a file with one row and one column for any dummy source if you want, and then you can follow the same way. Okay, so that's all with me. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Thanks a lot for watching.